Coach, great win on Saturday, 40-17. Were you surprised by the blowout score?
Well, I thought our guys played really well, and anytime, if you make the plays that our guys did and you execute the way that we did on defense especially, and especially on third downs, you have a chance to have a game like that. So it's a great rivalry, two really good teams, and we happen to come out on the winning side this time.
Last 3 or 4 games, the running game has really stabilized with Curtis McNeil leading the way. Is this as much offensive balance as you've had in your two years as the head coach here?
Oh, I don't know. We had times last year, and in our offensive line last year, as you look back, it was very productive and had some big running games just like Washington a year ago, here. So I don't know. I think we've been balanced last year at times too, but it's the first time for this year. Early in the year we were missing that, obviously, and that's why our offense was out of whack and we weren't running the ball very well. So Curtis has been a big part of that change.
And defensively, maybe your best all-around performance of the year. You've gotten a lot better in the last 5 or 6 weeks, and it just seemed like you stopped everything Washington was trying to do.
Yeah, really, it's why we talk about all the time. We're not going to judge our players or a side of the ball off of 1 or 2 games. And so if you look at the season as a whole, and we played 10 games, and 7 of those 10 games we've given up 17 or less points, that's really good defense, outside of those 3 games.
You get a big return from Marquise Lee. You've talked about maybe wanting to rest Robert Woods in the return game a little bit. Is that sort of an example of the depth issue when it's McNeil or Woods or Lee or Roby? Those are your return men, and obviously 4 extremely valuable players to your offense and defense.
Yeah, it is, and you'd like to have different ones, but, we have some really good returners. They just happen to be guys that play almost every snap. And so, but we've got to find a way to rest Robert. It's been a long season on him. You catch 90-plus balls, and then you put the returns on top of that, and then he blocks so physical, and he's not a big guy. You could just see him wearing down over the last couple of weeks.
USC as a program has not won a game in the state of Oregon since 2005, haven't beaten the Ducks since 2008. Does the conference run through them now? Do you feel like this is the team you need to beat to regain conference supremacy? Well,
I think it always does. Who's ever the reigning champs, you're the champs till somebody proves you different. And so, I've said that when we got here. If you're the conference champs, you got to beat them, or else you're not the top of the conference.
When you made the position changes defensively, moving Kennard up, moving Bailey up in the offseason, was it a game like this that you had in mind with that increased defensive speed?
No, it was really just in general of how this conference in college football has gone. These guys run a very unique system, one like nobody else does, and so it's hard to prepare for, and you do want to be fast. But in general, we made that switch because everybody was so spread out, not up-tempo. That was for the spread out and all the multiple receiver sets is why we did this. This is a whole nother set of issues because they're spread out and the tempo that they play at.
How much pressure does their offense put on your back 7 to tackle in space?
Everybody. You've got to tackle really well because there's no margin for error because you're not catching them once they get out. And so you got to be very disciplined in your gap controls and tackle really well, and not just for a half like some people have. You got to find a way to do it for a whole game. Again,
your depth will be tested. Everyone's fitness level is tested against Oregon. Seems like the first half they play a lot of tight games, and they just seem to wear everyone down in the second half. Do you feel like the fitness level is high enough to compete with them for 4 quarters?
Well, they do. They do a great job of rotating guys in, and everybody's switching in there, and so we've got to find a way to do that, and we've done that more this year, and we've got to stick with that.
When you look at the teams that have done well against them, it looks like defensive penetration, particularly from the front 4, is key. Your front defensive ends, Nick Perry, the whole front 4 had a great game against Washington. Is that the key defensively to stopping them that you see?
Well, we always talked about it first of all is the tackling, but the people that have had the most success have had a big day by the defensive linemen and getting penetration and knocking the runners off and getting to the quarterbacks. But that's football in general. That's always going to be the case. If your D-line's playing really well, you're going to play well. So, but we're going to need all 11 guys and really 22 because we're going to have to find some guys to substitute in there to play really well.
Yeah, we know about LaMichael James, obviously the quarterback Darren Thomas. DeAnthony Thomas is the new face. What have you seen from them and how they've used him as sort of a versatile piece in their offense?
Yeah, great speed. And they just fit him. They do a great job of fitting pieces into that unique offense. And so they've done it in the passing game and in the running game and in the return game too. And so he's a dynamic player.
How does their defense feed off the way their offense plays?
Well, their defense gets put back out there a lot. Whether their offense is playing good or bad, whatever it is, it's going to be fast. Either it's going to be a fast 3-and-out or it's going to be a fast touchdown series. And so they end up playing a lot of plays, and they don't get enough credit for that. you start looking at average per play and average per rush, this is one of the best defenses around. And having to do that for a lot of plays all day long and going back out there, shows how good they are on defense.
As a play caller, as an offense, is there anxiety to score touchdowns, certainly, instead of field goals, and to just keep scoring when you know that you're playing an offense that really can put up a big number?
Yeah, you have to. You're never going to beat an offense like this, especially at their place. That's why nobody has in however many games. If you're going to kick a bunch of field goals, you've got to maximize all those opportunities throughout the game.
Does it matter how you score? Do you need to bleed the clock and try and keep your defense off the field?
No, we got to stay in rhythm. We just got to play really well, and we did. Into the third quarter last year, had the lead here in the third quarter, and now we got to find a way to maintain that.
What would a significant top 10 win mean to this program and what you're trying to build?
Well, we're on our way, and we've talked about it the last few weeks. Just kind of moving some of those dark clouds away, and even with all these players we've had against them and taken away from them, I'm just proud of the way that they're playing and the way they need to continue to play for the next 2 weeks. And so this just happens to be the next game on the schedule.
All right, thanks, Coach. Good luck this week.
Thank you, Jordan.